Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Allison Forsgren.
Here.
Diane Flaherty.
Here.
Vanessa Larrabee is not here. Kendra Lockley.
Here.
Judith Perkins.
Here.
Susie Spring is not here. Linda Williams is not here. And myself, Mary Ann Easley. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Taylor Hilst.
Present.
Laura Stewart.
She said she was eating.
She is here. Anticipated speakers on the agenda. Julie Fitzgerald is anticipated, and I hope she will be here. She was intending.
She will.
Okay.
I'm sorry, is Allison here?
Allison is here.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. This open meeting of the Council on Aging is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth, due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment if there is anybody here. For this meeting, the Council on Aging is convening by video conference via Zoom app, as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in a conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged by and speak through the chair. Finally, each vote taken at this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. The end. Okay, we're done with that portion. Now we can go to the agenda. So we have established a quorum, and I'd like to ask for approval of today's agenda. Can somebody please make a motion to approve the agenda for this meeting?
I move to approve the agenda for this meeting.
That was Allison. So can each person just state your name?
Oh, sorry.
Before you speak, just so that Diane can make sure she gets it for the minutes. Do I have a second for the agenda?
It's Kendra, I second.
Okay.
And can we take a vote on that? Everybody in favor say aye.
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 I think we need roll call for that, okay. Now is the approval of the minutes for the September meeting, which everybody should have received well in advance and had a chance to look at. So we need somebody to either move to approve the September meeting minutes or to make suggestions for any changes. Can I get somebody to make a motion to approve the September minutes?
I make a motion to approve the September minutes.
That's Jude. Second?
Allison seconds.
Okay. I'm supposed to do this by roll call, so let me go down the roll. Everybody in favor, say aye. Allison?
Aye.
Diane?
Aye.
Kendra?
Aye.
Judith?
Aye.
Marianne? Aye. On the subject of minutes, Diane has actually recreated the minutes of the prior meeting, which was the August meeting, and we all just received those today. I'd like to make a suggestion that we hold off to approve them at the next meeting, even though I know that's even more time elapsing, just to give everybody a chance to read through them. I'm not sure how anybody feels about that, especially Diane. Diane, is it okay with you if we wait until the next meeting?
Yes, because because when I first listened to the meetings, I thought I thought Allison was taking the minutes, so I didn't take them in September. I didn't do the August meetings. And then when I received your email yesterday, if I could do the minutes, I kept getting interrupted. I watched the whole meeting and tried to write all the minutes, and I don't think it's really a good job. So I'd rather everyone look at it. And I know it stopped at 3 o'clock, and I typed 3:30 by mistake, but I was trying to get it done in a timely fashion. So yes, I would appreciate everyone reading it and critique it.
You know what? I actually found the little piece of paper that I was taking notes on recently, so I will compare that and perhaps help you out. Thank you, Diane, for doing that.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. So yes, I don't know if you need to take a vote on it, but I would appreciate it.
You want to vote on it?
No, I said whoops.
Okay, so we will hold off for approval of the August minutes until the next meeting. And Diane can provide those to us with your corrected version in advance, okay? All right, I don't think we have anybody here from the public, so I'll skip over public comment and go to our official business. We have 3 people on the docket today, and Julie is up first, but I guess we're gonna wait for her for later. So Taylor, you are next to give us an update on human services.
I certainly can, but Julie has arrived. And since she's first on the agenda, and in the interest of her time, if she doesn't want to stay for the whole thing, I figured maybe we could stick to the agenda and let her go first, if that's okay with you.
That's perfect.
Sure.
Let me just say that I asked Julie to be here because I think it's important for all of us on the Council on Aging to know exactly what's been proposed to the select board. So I've asked Julie to come and actually give us the same presentation she gave to the select board, so that we all know exactly what the proposal is, because it's become a little complicated over the long period of time that meetings were held. So thank you very much, Julie, for taking the time to be here. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Would you like me to share my screen with the report?
Sure. Thank you. So thanks for having me. So basically, I was chairing the Senior Center Committee. That was about a 2-year project. And it's an advisory committee to the select board. So we don't make any really final decisions. So all we can do is make a recommendation. So we were holding public meetings almost monthly, and we evaluated a number of sites that came to our attention in various ways to determine if they were a good site for a location for a new senior center. So further down, I think, so basically there was a set of criteria that we kind of established and what was given to us by the select board. And there's a chart on the end of the report that gave a comparison of various, again, criteria that we looked at for the different pieces of property. We basically went through a list of the site evaluations. One was 31 Fairgrounds Road, which is privately owned and would have required a purchase. So I think just basically because of the cost concerns, that was kind of quickly sort of written off on that basis. Sherburne Commons, I think initially and still is property that the Senior Center Committee would recommend for a new construction of a freestanding senior center. There were plans and a site plan showing the location where that could be located on the property. It would have its own entrance, its own parking area. I think people felt it would be important for that piece of property to sort of definitely look like it's a standalone and it be a, senior center for the public, that it wasn't part of a Sherburne Commons property in the sense of being part of their facility. And again, part of what was done is we did have a feasibility study that was approved and funds voted on in order to then review the property, which was kind of the Folger Farm property or the Cassidy property or whatever you want to call it. It had a number of 8 names on West Chester Street. So we did a feasibility study on that, and there was an architect hired to review that property. So that went on for a fair amount of time. There was public opportunities to see that property and visit the site and so forth. Ultimately, the architect basically sort of determined that the cost of the renovation, that building, to bring it up to handicapped accessibility requirements, because it was a residential property to start with and had multiple levels. It's not a standard residential property where you might have a basement, first floor, second floor. It was on all sorts of various levels and so forth. And the whole property couldn't be used because of the handicapped accessibility issues. There was a fairly steep incline around the building, which created some parking and traffic issues and so forth. So anyway, ultimately, he did do a comparison chart of a new build versus acquiring this property plus the renovation costs, and basically recommended that it was going to be more expensive and potentially time consuming in order to do that. So basically we felt like we could not recommend that property. So also what sort of came up sort of at the end, because the Island Home property was kind of looked at, but kind of taken off our review process because it's been so uncertain whether or not it would ever be sort of available and what the plans were for the Island Home property. But at our last couple of meetings, it was brought up because we all felt that if the Island Home was going to move, if that could be a senior center and all seniors have an opportunity to have that view, which has been sort of a contentious issue, I think, for some people about it, and that if it could accommodate a senior center, which there's been so much work done on that site already, it seems like it probably could, although I'm assuming the town would want to do its own sort of feasibility review again for a senior center. So I think there's a lot of excitement about potentially having that property for a senior center. Now, whether or not the existing structure could be modified for a senior center or whether it would have to be new build, would sort of take some further evaluation, and we didn't go that far. So those were basically our recommendations to the select board. So it really came down to the Sherburne Commons site and the Our Island Home site. And then I think possibly the Senior Center Committee is at this point basically not doing any further work unless we're asked to by the select board. It's possible that town administration may still be looking at other properties through the real estate specialists, but that's not something we're reviewing at this point in time. So that's kind of where we came up, and this was again presented to the select board in September.
I've got a question.
Allison, go ahead.
So I thought I read somewhere something about the airport being back in play, the Nantucket Hotel or Nantucket Inn.
Yeah, I think that's a town administration question.
Oh,
Yeah, and Julie has a conflict with that particular property, I believe. So I will take that one. The original kind of idea of the Nantucket Inn was before my time, but I do believe that that is now back on the market. And I myself have taken a look at the plans and looked at it. Okay, what could it look like if this were an interim location? And we have asked the architect who did the feasibility study to also take a look at the plans and do a higher level review than obviously I or Rachel could, but it's extremely preliminary and was not part of, this report at all.
It was looked at very early on in the senior center committee review process, and then so there was sort of a quick move to that when it was potentially a site, and then I think it was even open to the public a few times for people to visit the site. And then it was no longer available, so it came out of review from the senior center committee, and no further action was done on that piece of property at that point.
I mean, I think that would be, I think it met favorably with the seniors, didn't it, back when it was looked at before?
I don't think it had a full review process at that point, so.
Yeah, I think the initial, from what I understand from Rachel, I think the initial feedback was really popular. And when I do have like actual solid, documents and information back from the architect taking a look at it, I will certainly report back. I just don't have that yet.
And so have they considered the airport site for our island home?
No, not that I am aware of at all.
Because I like to plan to move the senior center to East Creek Road before before there's a plan for the island home. That just seems like way out.
No,
Correct. That would all have to be bundled. I'm sorry, Julie, I cut you off.
no, that's okay.
It would have to be a large plan that's bundled together. And that's why the consideration of an interim facility might be warranted.
Right. I think that's originally why the senior center committee really wasn't looking at that in any significant detail, because again, there was the issue about, we don't know what's going to happen with the island home. So why, I won't say just use the time if it's not even going to be feasible that's going to happen, because there's been so much discussion about the island home, whether it's going to be built around the existing structure or temporarily move people while there's construction and so forth. So we really didn't know and didn't want to get excited about that location until there's a decision. I think the other thing of, concern to seniors, as much as I think it gets a very positive response of that location, is the timing. It could be minimum maybe 5 years out if there's a decision soon for the island home with the relocation plan. It means that construction. And then that would have to pretty much be accomplished, and then the senior center, either renovation work being done on that site or a new building being done. So potentially it could be 5 or 10 years down the road, which was, I think, even though there's a lot of excitement about the site, do people want to wait that long? As people have said that have been coming to the meetings, we might not be here by the time the senior center is built, or we may not be able to use it because we're just won't be able to. So that has been part of the,
maybe they'll be at the island home instead of.
Exactly. So all of these have been factors in taking into consideration about what the options are and what's the best way to go. So.
Are there any other questions for Julie?
When might the select board start considering something and working on this? Oh, tell me.
Mary Ann, can I speak?
Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
I can give, Jude, I can give you kind of a sense of where we are now, and it's not at the point of making a recommendation to the select board. I mentioned at, I believe, our last meeting that over the course of September, the town had hired a facilitator. His name is Herb Taylor, to conduct basically informational sessions with stakeholder groups, kind of gathering and compiling inputs from residents, input from family members, input from staff, input specifically non-nursing staff and nursing staff. They were done in two separate groups, and then community stakeholders. Julie participated, Mary Ann participated too. I couldn't invite you all, or else we'd have a public meeting issue, because then it would be a COA meeting, not a facility meeting. Allison came as a member of Friends of Our Island Home, and that facilitator has compiled all of those groups' input on their thoughts about all of the possible future options for Our Island Home. And he is going to present that at the select board meeting next week. And it's not really a recommendation report. It's just, this is a compilation of all of the stakeholder groups' opinions on the strengths and weaknesses of various possible options, and kind of a summary of kind of Nantucket's values, if you will, regarding taking care of older adults. So that's where we are as of today, and will be as of next Wednesday when he reports. So I would encourage everybody to tune into that.
So the senior center won't go forward until Our Island Home goes forward? Is that how I read it?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Bundle those two, that's where we are today with Our Island Home. If we were to, bundle those two things together, and they do, and the select board does decide to go with the senior center should be on the Our Island Home site, yes, obviously they can't renovate or break ground on that until there's a plan for Our Island Home and it's moved, unless of course they choose to consider a different location or an interim solution.
I think everyone needs to remember too, that these, any new construction or any acquisition, if there's another property that's found, is all going to need to go to town meeting. So that's a long process in and of itself. So, or it can be a longer process.
Laura, are you still here? Okay,
I'm here.
I just wanted to ask a favor. Could you put something in your next newsletter about this select board meeting? Because there will be a lot of seniors interested.
Sure.
It would be nice to flag that.
Yep, definitely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Allison?
So oh, Julie, I'm sorry to keep harping on the Nantucket Inn business, but is that something that the town is considering? I mean, it would be great to have some, I mean, it does answer a lot of questions, some housing, some blah, 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 blah. I just wonder, it was bid on by a developer prior to that, because the town really can't move as fast as the private sector does. But I mean, that seems like something that a lot of people could throw their weight behind, because it would be something that would happen sooner rather than later. And I'm going to be 62 pretty soon, so I want to go swimming.
I'm going to defer that to Taylor.
Allison, I'm right there with you. It is my personal opinion, not TON's opinion, that location is a big problem solved for a lot of different areas, not just the senior center. That's what I think. And as far as we are with that right now is continuing to contract the architect to do a high level review of how can we make that big first building work for a senior center as an interim location. So it's under admin is looking at it, I guess would be the best way to phrase that.
And so what is the asking price for that? Has the town entered a contract for it or anything?
No, I don't know the answer to, I don't know how much it costs, and no,
Mm-hmm.
I believe so.
All right.
Are there any other questions for Julie? Or for Taylor?
So can I just add that if you go to the website, I know Taylor sent you the report, and on the report, there are plans that show the sites and the potential building and everything. And I just think it's kind of exciting to see what a new build could look like too, and what the facilities look like. Maybe this is all going to change now that we've been through a COVID-19 situation as to what they may be anticipating for future senior centers, so that there are ways to continue to keep various activities open or things like that. So, things are pretty much shut down right now. But, I think it was great to at least get that part of the, experience out there and have some of that work done. Just gives you a much better, I think, vision to see what it is you could potentially have, how big a piece of land it needs, and how it can really be exciting. So,
What website was that, please, so I write it the right way?
Diane, it's on the Senior Center Committee page,
Okay, yes, all right, I
the
have that.
town's website.
Senior Center Committee page, okay. Okay,
Julie, I wanna
thank you.
thank you, for taking the time today to go over this with all of us. Appreciate it.
welcome. Good to see you all.
A lot of work.
Thank you, Julie. That was a long haul. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Bye now.
Bye. Okay, Taylor, it's now your turn.
Thank you. So I'm just going to give an update from a health and human services perspective as it relates to seniors. I sound like a broken record. We do not yet have a date for opening for in-person activities in the building or group activities outside. We will, for now, continue with virtual and the drive-through events, with the exception of we are going to start, Roberto has just given his permission for this, Roberto Santamaria, the health director, for us resuming hearing aid visits within the building with a lot of safety and sanitation processes in place. It'll be one person at a time, staggered appointments, time to clean in between people being serviced. And that really falls on more under a medical essential than a programmatic activity, but that's extremely important. And Laura and I kind of kicked around the idea of, could we do this in a tent in the parking lot? But really that's not going to work for that specific type of visit, because you really can't have all that noise around to do that effectively. So Laura has been in contact with them, and the NCEA president and Roberto, the health director, have both given our blessing to do that. So we will move forward with that. I'm sure you guys are all aware that Nantucket is considered a high-risk community right now. We are very much in the red zone and have had a rash of recent cases and 2 very recent deaths. And it's really not appropriate for us to start in-person group activities right now beyond the drive-through events. So unfortunately, I don't have our news to report there, but Laura, thank you so much for all the fantastic virtual stuff that she has been offering. I'd also like to talk about flu shots. This, it kind of came up between Mary and Laura and I that we're worried about seniors without access to transportation being able to access flu shots, since they're really pushing the drive-through idea for flu shots, and understandably people are more comfortable with that. So if someone, let's say, doesn't have transportation and is signed up for the van service, they can get a flu shot at a regularly scheduled in-person inside doctor's appointment. However, we've worked with the hospital and with NRTA to allow seniors to utilize the van service to get flu shots on the van. So if somebody doesn't have transportation and is more comfortable with the drive-through, they can do that. Elder Services is also aware of that because they're in contact with a lot of the people who don't have transportation. And if a senior doesn't have transportation and isn't signed up for Your Island Ride, they will work with us to make it happen. And a couple have, 1 or 2 are on the books, and I believe it's gone really well with coordinating with the hospital. Essentially, they're allowing the van to cut the line and be prioritized when they get there, because they know when they're coming in advance. And it wouldn't have worked to kind of just go through the drive-through because the van is on such a tight schedule. So we're, pushing that information out to our contacts who are in touch with people who don't have transportation. But I think that's a a problem solved. And of course, we really want everybody to get their flu shots. There was a brief time where they had run out of the high dose that they give to elders, but quickly restocked within a couple of days. And Laura pushed that information out, so all of our guys were aware. And then I also want to report, since one of the things that we talked about at the last meeting was seniors and access to technology, is that thanks to Laura, she got a grant to purchase tablets that we can lend out to people who don't have them. I did, Allison, just so you know, I did follow up with Rotary. They chose to do one large donation to Nantucket Food, Fuel, and Rental Assistance, which I totally understand in the hierarchy of needs. That's kind of where a lot of people are at right now during the pandemic, but it was really wound up being a moot point because Laura just got that grant, and finance is processing it, and we'll be able to purchase those soon. So I have been in contact with Elder Services, the Homestead, Academy Hill, and Sean Mitchell, who's connected, who does a lot of programming of his own with seniors and the telephone reassurance program, to let them all know about this, even though we don't have it already. And then also to get a sense from them if we just don't have any numbers, and I'm not really sure how to get them beyond asking these contacts of, okay, if there's somebody who doesn't have the technology, problems, we've fixed that, we can lend them this, but if they don't have internet, how do we get that to them? So I have asked them for if they are aware of any seniors who, in addition to not having the technology and maybe would be interested in doing a class or Zooming with their family or FaceTiming, do you know of anybody who also would need Wi-Fi access? I guess worst case scenario, if somebody needed to, they could come use our Wi-Fi individually, but that's not really a long-term solution. So we really just don't have that information. But thanks to Laura, we'll have those soon. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura.
And we'll be able to serve a lot of people because it will be a lending situation, not a giving situation. So hopefully we will have interested parties.
Allison.
So back to beating this old dead horse, but if there are people at Landmark or any of the other municipally owned or, places, to get Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi in the building is something that I always thought would be helpful.
They do have that at Homestead and Academy Hill.
Right. Oh, they do.
Yes, if in Academy Hill, because of the way it's built, I know there's some apartments that it doesn't reach, but they could use the common area to access it.
Well, that's new. Do you know who pays for that?
I talked to are you talking about Academy Hill?
Yeah.
I talked to Wendy Herrick Ailman, who's the kind of apartment manager there, and this morning, and specifically asked her that. And her answer was that they do have Wi-Fi in the building, that if someone didn't have their own internet, they could access. But depending on where it is, they might have to come to the common area to do it, which is fine because I think they would only be one person at a time now anyway, but that it does work in there. At Homestead, they have access, and I will have to double check on Landmark because I talked to Elder Services, but I didn't talk to Ella.
Okay, great.
Are there any questions or comments for Taylor?
Thank you, Laura. And so did you go to that class that the MCOA sponsored? Did you go to that seminar and learn how to, or how'd you get that grant?
It came through MCOA. I found out about it, so just applied for it and did it. And Ginny's actually on a webinar right now to learn about specific uses and rules and restrictions and best practices about how to use the money. And we did take a little webinar, both Ginny and I, through MCOA about what other senior centers have done, which is very interesting. Some of them, if they lend them out, they require that the Lend-E participate in a Zoom activity at their senior center. So it's a way to get people more involved with us also. Some senior centers gave the iPads away. You know, and we just needed to learn about how to lend it and who do you pick. And, you know, some people did it by income. Some people just did it by first come, first serve. So learned a lot.
Great.
It'll be great once we get it going.
That's wonderful.
Do you know how many you're getting?
We don't. We would have to look into, I think we're going to go through probably the town IT. So we might get them through the town. Other place, you know, a lot of other senior centers got refurbished ones. They didn't get iPads, they got tablets. But if Ginny and I are kind of doing the IT for the seniors, we know iPads, so it might make sense to get something that we know how to help them with, since we'll be on the phone with them. So I don't know. Depends on if you get a data plan with it, if you don't, if you get a SIM card. So we have to look into it very strategically and find out what will work and what's the best, cheapest way to.
A data, I didn't even think of that. Sorry, I'm thinking a
Yeah.
data plan is actually a really good idea, because then it wouldn't really matter if you didn't have Wi-Fi.
Right, but therefore way more expensive.
Way more, but maybe we could get one like that.
Right, so
We'll talk about it.
We
I didn't
will.
even think of that.
once we deposit the money, let's get that done.
Let's let the check clear.
Right, exactly. So it'll be good.
Are there any other questions for Taylor? Okay, we'll move on to you, Laura, although we.
Okay. So, you know, we're Zooming all of our fitness classes. They are still doing great. We're still getting new participants that have been members of the Salt Marsh, but not necessarily participants within the fitness classes. We just had one today that we had to have her fill out a consent form. And so that's really cool. She would come in and do other things, but not these. So still getting more people. So that's fabulous. The drive-throughs are great. Kendra, this is the best thing. Compliments to the chef. They love it. Some drive-through, there's one guy who pulls in backwards so he doesn't have to get out of his car but can see everybody, and he stays here the whole time and just wants to see people. So it's really doing great, and I think they really appreciate it, and everybody's following the rules. And thank gosh, the weather, we've picked good weather days. So we'll do that. We'll do that for the next 2 Tuesdays. And then the last Friday in October, we will do a trick or treat. So people can drive by and get a piece of candy. And then if all works well and Kendra's up for it, we'll do a soup and roll pick up kind of in the afternoon for a small dinner for people. So that would be cool. If anybody else has any ideas for other drive-throughs, what can we do for Christmas? Can we get like little Christmas bags? Is the Neat people, Taylor, doing anything this year for donations? Can we make little bags?
We have started meeting about what we'll do in the late fall, and I have brought that up, but when plans are finalized, we'll let you know, because that would actually be a really nice way to distribute and have some contact.
Exactly, around the holidays.
And then I would also add that we have invited Our Island Home to come to these drive-throughs with residents, because that's, you know, one safe group activity that they could do. And one of my goals when I took this position was to increase contact between Salt Marsh and OIH, and COVID really put a damper on that. So we figured that this would be a safe, fun way for them to see some people. It's limited, of course, how many people they can bring because they have to socially distance on the van, but I think they've come to a couple and they're signed up for the list, so they can, anytime that it works for them to come, we're really happy to have them, and I think it's fun for everybody. So they're not being left out of this in any way, which is really nice.
So is the NCEA paying Kendra for that
Yes.
stuff?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, she is, and the town's paying for the coffee. I think it's the best cooperative that I think I've seen since I've been here, between NCOA, COA, town, and Salt Marsh. It's
Laura,
kudos to everybody.
many people have been going through?
Well, with the muffins, we've had 2 muffins left
Oh,
each
good.
time.
Oh, good.
So, so that's what, 36? Or
36.
30, so 34.
Perfect.
34, yeah.
But I also wanted to mention that I'm doing Halloween cookies, sugar cookies. So I was going to do a pumpkin cookie for each, like 30
Oh, great.
bags of, bag.
Right, yep. We were just gonna do a plastic bag for everybody, so nobody has to touch anything or pick anything. We're just gonna be like, here you go.
Right.
That's your bag, everybody gets the same thing. So if you would like to donate to the bag,
Yeah. Perfect.
cool,
Okay, cool.
that would be great.
And Laura, I think I remember you were asking if any COA members wanted to be working the trick or treat line.
If there's any crazy people out there that want to dress up and, kind of make it fun, I'm going to dress up. I'm going to see if I can find in my dress up box something that Ginny will wear.
It's Friday the 30th, Saturday 31st? Or
No,
when?
it's going to be Friday the 30th, 1 to 3.
I definitely would do up.
Just,
Yeah.
make it fun, I thought.
Definitely. It would be
Yeah.
fun.
Kendra, make me do it and I'll do it with you.
You have the costumes, so.
Yeah, I dress up every day, so.
Perfect. That's great. I'm going to write that down so I know to expect you.
Kamala.
So what else? So we have started 2 different online activities programs. One is called Highway 65, Highway 61, which is free. We just advertise it, and it's more activity oriented with things like bingo, trivia, a chapter, a book a week. They also have talks about, seniors living alone, caregiving. So that's something that is kind of more active, that hopefully takes care of some of those people who would like to do bingo and trivia. I jumped in on a trivia one just to see what it was like. And there were 9 people and I didn't know any of the answers, but that's okay. But it was fun and they were having a great time. They don't keep score or anything, but they were having fun chit-chatting back and forth, and it was really cool. It was started by a gal in California whose mother went to her senior center a lot, and since of COVID can't anymore. So her daughter set this up, and the woman whose daughter it was actually playing trivia. So she's using this website. So that was pretty cool. So that's the only thing that I can't do with that, is track how many people from the Salt Marsh actually utilize it, unless I am actually in the chat room, because everybody signs up on their own separately. The Salt Marsh has a code, and they just put their name and email in and that code, and then they can join whatever's going on that day. So if I'm not joining, I don't know. So it's going to be hard to kind of track, but Ginny and I are trying to get into kind of one thing a day, just to kind of see what the bingo actually is like, see if we recognize any names, etc. So I don't know if that's going well or not, but it sounded pretty cool to do. The one that's really doing well is called Senior Learning Network. And that we need to be a member of, and NCEA is paying for our monthly bill for that, which is $30 a month. And they send me, or I can go on their website and look to see what they are offering for. They're more programs, virtual tours, talks, things like that. And I've jumped on 2 so far, just because our signups have been fabulous. The first one was a Tuskegee Airmen, and we had 4 people signed up for that, and there were 90 people altogether on that webinar. And then yesterday, there was an animal adoptions in Yellowstone National Park. We had 7 people join out of 102 nationwide. And then this coming Thursday, there's a Pacific War National Museum. We have 5 people signed up. You can take a tour of the Spam Museum if you would like. I'm very interested in that one. So it's just, the signups have been fabulous. So I think that's very well worth every penny that.
Well, that's great that you have all that you're able to reach out to all these people and they're participating.
Yeah, well, you know, it's networking with all those other senior centers and finding out what they're doing and getting information from them. And since I can't go over and have my meeting, you know, we just do a little Zoom and get some information. So those two things I think are fabulous. We're very busy here.
Great.
Good.
Who'd have thunk?
Yeah, Laura, I've got a question. Linda Zola actually was in the hospital for a good portion of the summer, and probably, you know, in-person art classes will probably never be something that she does. But I'm wondering if we could, excuse me, maybe get someone from the Artist Association or the library or somebody to do a class similar to, I mean, and you know, even if materials are provided or dropped off or something, it would be great to have an online art class.
Right, yeah.
People. So there are some supplies, and NCEA actually, there's money left that Linda requested from NCEA that hasn't been spent yet. So I think, I don't know if Linda's name is still on the website to contact.
No, she's not. She actually just called me the other day and said, you know, we're not going to be doing it for a while. So,
Okay.
yeah.
But is there someone that we can ask, or, I mean,
Somebody from the Artists Association would be a good thought. I don't know any artists, you know, that.
and so can we ask people?
I'm sorry?
I mean, can we as board members or COA members ask artists that we know, or?
We shouldn't ask them to do it for free, but we can certainly, you know, hire somebody to teach an art class and get supplies. We shouldn't like solicit someone doing it for free, but
All right.
it's out there on, you know, that this is something we want to do. And does the Artists Association know someone who might be a good fit?
Okay, so is that something, I mean, I know people at the Artists Association. Can I ask them? Or does Laura or somebody have to do it?
I don't know that there's a specific rule about that, but we certainly can, since it's a programming thing. Laura can, you know, try and find a teacher just like she would try and find, you know, a new exercise teacher or something like that.
Okay.
Okay, I'll get on that, I guess.
And so how old do you have to be? 60 to do things at the Salt Marsh?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Really? Because I'm going to be 60 in November.
Woo!
I'm going to take an art class.
If you have anybody specific to get in touch with, I mean, I usually just email Liz Hunt,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, Liz would be great.
Okay. I'll shoot her an email and see what I can find out.
Great.
So that's kind of, you know, we're busy. NCEA is looking for things to spend money on, so maybe we can get them to help with this. Any questions about anything?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Laura. Are you getting any feedback from people that they're, because I know we're all frustrated being quarantined essentially, but are you getting feedback from anybody hearing that other people not participating might feel like they're falling through the cracks, people that we may reach out to who aren't finding ways to connect?
Well, I have not. I think that we probably miss those people just because they're not on our email list. You know, I think Sean would be a better person to know who those people are. Everybody that I've talked to, because everybody seems to be doing fine.
Oh, good, good.
Yes.
Oh, when I spoke with Sean earlier about reaching his contacts for the to inform them about the tablet thing. I did say, you know, even if they didn't want to do an activity, we would, you know, sign them up as a Salt Marsh participant. All they need to do is call. So that might be a way to kind of try and having like that friendly face, putting that information to them, like, hey, this is here, they want to reach you, they want to help you, might be a way to hopefully reach some people that we haven't yet.
Are there any other questions for Laura or for Taylor, or comments? Okay, we're coming to the end of this agenda, although I noted other business just in case people have anything else on your mind or anything else you want to say.
You know, I've been thinking ahead to town meeting, and when Our Island Home, I mean, when the discussion comes about Our Island Home and what we can do as the Council on Aging to educate ourselves and help educate the public about what the options are. I mean, you know, it's going to sort of be a referendum on if it's ever going to happen or not, I think, coming up. And, you know, what should we know about, you know, it, and how can we help educate the people that we know about what's actually happening? I mean, it seems to me, and Taylor, I might be wrong, but, you know, it's going to be, are we going to do it or not at this next town meeting? That's sort of my sense.
I don't know if funding for a new Ireland home in any location will be on the ballot or not. I don't think that's been decided yet at all.
Okay.
Sure, I'd just like to say, Allison, surely we should all be ambassadors for this at some point, and that was my reason for asking Julie to be here today, so that we all get at least up to speed with where the select board is and, you know, what the situation is as far as it's known, which clearly is, you know, there are a lot of details to be worked out. But we all need to be educated about this so that we can be out there in the community, you know, certainly encouraging people to vote for whatever it is that we want in the end.
Or to just get excited about it, like to get, I mean, you know, the Nantucket Inn, if that could be ready in a year and people could swim there, but COVID, I don't know what's,
I would like to
excited about something.
you can swim at the high school now, you know.
Really?
It's wonderful.
Oh,
It's better than non-COVID. Yes, you have your own lane, you have your own space for your stuff. You can arrive late, it's still your lane. So it's perfect. Check it out.
maybe.
Anybody else have anything to add before we move to adjourn? Well, thank you for all being here. I appreciate that we had a quorum, so thank you very much. Can I get a...
Thank you for taking notes. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being our secretary.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, you're welcome. Sorry. I couldn't unmute.
Can I get a motion for adjournment?
I'll make the motion. Can I do that?
Yes, you can. Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, I have to go down the list now for a vote. Alice,
Who second?
Diane,
Jude.
Jude.
You. Thank you.
Okay, can I get a yes from Allison?
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Kendra,
Yes.
Jude,
Yes.
Mary Ann, yes. Thank you again, everybody.
Thank
All right.
you.